Today was a long, busy day of work in the office, and I came home from work. I did, dinner and all the usual stuff, and I just had a few minutes and I wanted to spend some time writing down some stories in my Hobonichi cousin for my December daily. I didn't have the energy or the time to pull out my album, but getting these stories down definitely helped set me up for success to pull this album out again tomorrow. Okay, I am back. It is Wednesday, December 10th. I worked from home today and I decided that I was ready to kind of dive back into this album after work. And I have not touched this album since I did day 6, which was in my previous video. You did see there was a little clip of me working in my Hobonichi cousin, writing down stories for the past few days. I did that last night. I usually have a little bit of time in my craft room in the evening after my boyfriend and I have our evening routine where we have dinner and everything. And then I usually have between 30 minutes to an hour to myself in my craft room before going up to bed to read and, go to sleep. So I, during that time, did a little bit of catch up in here, but I didn't really look at my album or anything. So I now need to do days 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I'm going to update this calendar first before I do talk about the photos or anything. So this actually got canceled. And let's see. So I did decide that I wanted to do a few stories and I wrote them out here. So I wanted to do the advent calendars on Sunday. So I had originally thought that I would actually work on this album on Sunday, and I did work on it on Saturday, and I was home Sunday and crafting, but I just wasn't feeling like working on this album. Totally fine. I don't need to do it. It's just for fun. So I skipped it and I decided to work on it later now. I just didn't touch it for a couple days, which is totally fine. Sunday was kind of a frustrating day. The day kind of got away from me and I just didn't feel like working on it. Then for day 8, I decided I wanted to do, I didn't really have anything going on that day. So the story I wanted to tell was just a picture of my house. So exterior home. And I did do a little bit of journaling here about some home projects we've been working on, and also just being grateful for my house and how pretty it is with the snow and the Christmas lights. I'm not sure if I'm going to add any journaling or anything, or if I'm just going to do a super simple page. I haven't decided yet. I'm thinking pretty simple. Then yesterday I took a picture. I got some new mugs in the mail. I had ordered a few new mugs, and I used one of them last night for my evening tea. And I had already made a note that I wanted that to be one of my stories. So I'm going to do that for the night. And I have a few ideas for today, but I don't know yet what I want to do. So I think I'm just going to do those 3 pages right now and do them pretty quick and easily. So keep it pretty simple. I do still have a lot of stuff here to do. What I wanted to write down, let's see, I got, I'm going to write in here travel recap / Flighty. So Flighty is this app that I use that tracks all of your flights throughout the year. And they gave me like a year in review for 2025, showing all of the flights that I had this year. And I thought that was kind of neat. So it's like a little infographic. I might include that as a story. And then maybe pair it with some like looking forward to travel in 2026. Not sure yet. I think I might have too many story ideas, which usually happens and they end up having to get cut down. But that's why I keep this list, because I want to make sure that some of these things like the craft community and stuff, I really want to make sure I tell that story at some point. The other story I was thinking of is talking about stress. Right now, I'm just going to do / right now. So just some frustrating things that have been going on in my life with my daughter and just in general, and not stuff I really want to share on the internet or even really put in my album, but I'm thinking I might want to do like a nod to it, maybe a story about stress and just some like broad overview, or just how I've been feeling stressful kind of the past few days over the weekend and coming into this week, which is part of why I wasn't really feeling like working on this project. But I'm feeling better now, even though there's still some issues, the things that, they're stressing me out. Work is a lot, just like little things, but thankfully nothing too big. But that, I think, wraps that up. So let's move on to my plans for my album here. So I printed out some photos, and I printed these last night when I was in my craft room updating my journal also. And I wanted to just show you how I had them here, because I don't usually share all of this behind the scenes, but I got a lot of feedback that you guys liked the behind the scenes from my first video. So hopefully this is something you're interested in. But anyways, what happened, or what I did was this is how I print and edit photos at home. And I have shared in some vlogs before how I do this, but I print on 8.5 by 11 paper generally at home. This is luster photo paper, and I will link that in the description box below. I love it. It's glossy enough that you still get some shine to the photos, but there's no fingerprints. It's not like this high gloss, so I can touch it, I can write on it pretty easily. It's just a great photo paper. So I'm actually going to start cropping this down. One of the things I didn't think about when I decided on this album size was that I needed to print photos 4.25 to be a full page photo. Oops, that was a really bad cut there. Okay, the problem with that is with 8.5 by 11 paper, you can usually print 3 4x6s, or 6 3x4s, or 5 3x4s, and 1 4x4. When you get to 4.25, you end up losing a lot of the real estate, and so you can only print 2 4.25 and 2 3x4s because of the size of it and the fact that I'm not doing borderless printing. So there is going to be an edge that you can't have your photo in. It will crop it off. Now, you might ask, why am I not doing borderless printing? Because when you do borderless printing on your printer, to make it truly borderless, the printer expands the image to bleed off of the edge of the page, which is great when you want a full page photo that is 8.5 by 11. When you're doing something with sized photos and you try to print borderless, it will resize your photos, it will stretch them. It will keep the proportions right, but it will stretch them and they will be bigger than you want. So that would not work. So instead, I'm just doing this where I'm printing the 4.25 photos with 3x4. So I don't really need 3x4 photos for this project. So what I'm doing is printing these 3x4 photos, which I actually cut those ones out because I wasn't really thinking. I'm just gonna leave these ones like this. These are for Project Life spread for the first week of December. So I'm just gonna slip these in my Project Life album, and you'll see them in that process video if you watch it. So I had 3 photos to print for the 7th, 8th, and 9th stories. And then I could have printed a photo for day 10. I wasn't entirely sure yet what I wanted to do. So what I did instead was print one of my Christmas cards. So I think I mentioned this in another video, maybe in my other December daily one, but I decided to do Christmas cards this year, and I'm doing them myself at home. And I made them 4.25 by 4.25 so I can put one in my album for one of my days, which I need to write that on here as one of my stories to make sure I don't miss telling that story. And even though I made them and I'm proud of myself that I got them created, I'm still working through printing them out because being an annoying size to print, I can only print a few at a time. And I also didn't think to order envelopes on time, so those are coming. And so I'll get them out before Christmas, but they probably won't get to people by Christmas, but that's okay. So I'm getting that one out of here for now. And let's pull over the album. So we're doing days 7 and 8 first. 7's my advent calendar and 8 is this picture of my house. So I do want to talk about this picture. This was originally a horizontal photo. And in fact, I printed the same photo as a 4x6 for Project Life. So you can see the sky kind of ends. And how I made it bigger was I used the generative expand tool in Photoshop, and it kind of just filled in the sky to make it look natural. Now, there were ways you could do this without that, without the kind of generative expand, which is an AI tool. You could just do it with like the blue and just kind of extend the colors, but I like this because it kind of extends the clouds too, and it just looks really natural. It doesn't work super well on extending things that aren't like sky or, you know, like this wall I could have extended if I needed to. Stuff like that, it can't really extend. Like if I wanted to extend the bookshelf, it wouldn't be able to do that. But it works really well for something like this. So for days 7 and 8, I'm just going to put this photo by this photo, and I'm just gonna decorate them. I think I'm gonna put a 7 on here. I don't know that I'm gonna put anything else on here besides a number and maybe a little bit of decor. I was thinking about doing some journaling, but honestly, I feel like the photos speak for themselves. This one is my advent calendar. I could, you know, write something about advent calendars, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just gonna leave them as is. So what I'm gonna do is put you guys on music/voiceover and decorate these ones and get them in my album. Okay, so I went super simple and I finished 7 and 8, and I'm gonna cross that off. And decor, again, I think I'm gonna half do it because I did my home. I might do like an indoor decor thing, but for now, I feel like I've addressed that story, and I do have a lot of other stories I want to include. So I'm okay with that not being checked off or being done. I mean, sorry, there's like a little thing on here. There we go. Okay, so for 7, I just went with the advent calendar. It took me a while to find a sticker that said advent. I was hoping I had one that said advent calendar, but I just said advent. I went with a little decoration here. Nothing else is necessary. I will remember what this is. I don't have to write anything. And like I said, I'm keeping it very simple this year. For day 8, I did consider adding some journaling. Like I said, I did more journaling in my Hobonichi cousin about this, both about gratitude for my home, just enjoying the lights and the snow. And also we've been working on a lot of home projects and kind of planning for some home projects in 2026. So I thought about maybe talking about some of those. I did consider maybe doing like a punch here and then have a pull out tag with some journaling. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not still gonna do that, but I highly doubt I will at this point. We'll see. For now, I'm considering that one done. For day 9, I printed this photo of my new mug with my tea, and I wanted to do the story about tea, and I think I want to pair it with a full page with some journaling, and I think I want to maybe do a little bit typed journaling about our tea routine and put maybe like a quick sticker or number at the top and then call that one good. But I don't think I'm going to do that one right now. I feel like when I work on this after work, I don't have a ton of time in the afternoons to do it. So I'm probably not going to actually do this one till Friday, which I have off. And then on Friday, I will probably do 10, 11, and 12. And then 13 is going to be my Christmas cookie baking day, which I will probably document on the 14th. And that will probably wrap up this video. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up for today. And I'll see you guys next time I work on this. Okay, so it is Friday, December 12th, and I am back in my craft room, ready to work on my project. So in giving you just a little bit of behind the scenes, this was a super insanely busy week for me. I worked a lot. I am a full-time tax attorney, and this is our busy season. I work for the government, so tax season is not my busy season. What my busy season is budget season, so working on legislation and stuff related to that for the government related to tax. So I have been working a lot. Yesterday on the 11th, I was in the office for like 11 hours or something, like maybe 10 hours. And I worked nonstop. I was so exhausted when I got home. I didn't touch anything crafting. I didn't touch my journal. I didn't touch my planners. I didn't look in my craft room. But today is the 12th. And I have some flexibility in my work schedule, so I get every other Friday off. So today is my day off that is just going to be spent in my craft room. And one of my priorities today is to work on December daily. So I have this, my Hobonichi cousin here. I have my calendar and I have my album. And these are kind of my 3 tools for working on my project. So first, let's just open this up to where I am. So I just did the pages 7 and 8 on Wednesday, and I had just a little bit of time in the evening after working that day because I had worked from home. And because it's winter now, it gets dark early. So if I work from home and I don't have that commute, sometimes I can get some crafting in before the sun fully goes down. Or even sometimes I'll do it after with studio lights to film, but I like to do it during the daylight. So I never really craft on office days, especially because I'm so exhausted, because the commute and like getting ready and everything just adds a lot to the day. So anyways, days 7 and 8 are done. They were just very simple. And then for day 9, where I left off, was I wanted to do a story about my evening tea. And I printed this photo before I sat down to do day 7 and 8. I had printed this photo to do day 9, and I just didn't get to it. I just got tired and was like, I don't really know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want day 9 to just be the photo again, because I did do that for days 7 and 8. And while I do want to do that for a lot of my pages in this album, I do want a little bit more for some of them, and I wanted more of the story for this. So today is, like I said, the 12th. And before I started filming this, I went over to my computer and edited and printed some stuff. So I'm going to show you that in a second. But first, I'm just going to go through kind of what stories I wanted to tell. So on the 11th, I worked so much. So that is my story for the 11th. And then for day 10, I think I'm going to do another one of these like photo filler stories where it's not really filler story, but it's just like a photo that I want to include and just make that the story. So I'm going to show you guys what I printed. And because I'm doing these December daily videos in a kind of like behind the scenes approach, I wanted to show you kind of a little bit more of how and I printed things. So I printed 2 sheets. As I mentioned earlier in this video, I believe, I print on 8.5 by 11 paper at home. And these are the 2 types of photo paper that I use. This is the luster, premium luster photo paper from Canon. And I love this for my photos because it is slightly glossy. You can hopefully tell it's a little glossy, but it's not like high gloss, so you can touch it, you can write on them without super smearing or fingerprints or anything. So I love that for my scrapbooking. This is matte photo paper from Epson, not premium matte, just regular matte. And it is the thinness of a regular piece of paper. And this is what I use to print photos that are going to go into my journals and my planners, and to print anything that I just want, like a journaling card, if I don't mind it being thin. Sometimes I will print them on the thicker, like the premium presentation paper, but I really prefer the thin because I don't want to add unnecessary bulk to things. So a lot of these are for my journal. And because I need to print 8.5 by 11, I printed, you can see 4 squares here, and then I need to fill the rest of the page. These 3 are for my album. This is another one of my Christmas cards. So like I said, I'm trying to get all of those out, printed and done. And that, of course, is going to be one of my stories in my album, probably sometime next week. I'm just going to crop this down and pull these out. These are for like my journal and my take a note, my house journal, stuff like that. And the photos on the photo paper were for Project Life. So I'm just going to go ahead and crop everything out, and then I'll talk about what I'm going to do with things. Okay, so for my evening tea, I typed up a little bit of a story about it to go with it. So this is going to be my full page spread. And I think I'm just going to add like a number, maybe a little bit of decoration, but that's going to be day 9. And then on the back, I'm going to do 10 and 11. So what I decided to do was print, I just wanted a filler like photo story for day 10. And this is a photo I took, I think actually on day 10, of my mugs and my shelves in my kitchen, my little coffee corner. I love this part of my kitchen. It is probably one of my favorite parts in my house, and I decorate it every year for Christmas. I have this little like Christmas village, and I also swap out my mugs seasonally, and I did get a few new mugs this year. You can see them in the photo. They're not as highlighted as if I took a photo of just the mug, but like one of them is this mug right here. So I just wanted to document this. So I think that that's just going to be 10. So I'm just going to say kitchen shelves is my story. And I think I've actually done this exact story before in an older December daily. I'm thinking I did it in 2020 because I did a digital and I can kind of picture it. But I did a digital photo book for that year, and I do have a flip through of that on my YouTube if you're interested. But I did a photo of this same area of my kitchen, and that would have been like 5 years ago. So a lot of my decor and things have changed, but some of it has stayed the same. And I love doing photos like this in my house because I can kind of see the way they evolve over time. So then for day 11, like I said, I worked so much. And in my head, as I was driving home from work, I was thinking about what story I was going to tell in my December daily. And I wanted to just do like bold words. And I considered stamping like large words, and that would have looked good too. But I don't want to do that. I decided I wanted to keep it very like clean lines and just do this. So what I'm going to do is figure out a way to put an 11 on there and a 10 on here. And then for this one, I'm going to do a little bit more to decorate it and put a 9. So I'm going to put you guys on voiceover and get these two put together and put in my album. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through my process for these, or what I actually ended up creating for these 3 days after I put them together in real time. But I just wanted to pop in during the process and kind of share a few thoughts. So one thing you might notice is that I'm not working on 1 day at a time. Instead, I'm working on 3 days at a time because that is going to make this process so much more manageable to me. I'm also not necessarily working on things in order, and I'm bulk processing. So what I mean by bulk processing is this is something I've talked about in a lot of my other videos and also in my class Plan Prep Play that ran in ellieedwards.com and is still available for purchase if you're interested. But I talk about how I don't necessarily just sit down and say, okay, I'm going to put together day 9 now. Okay, what's my story? What's my photo? Print the photo, put the page together. Instead, I'm going to be working on multiple days at a time, and that way I can print photos for multiple days together. I can work on putting them together at the same time. I can print, so you can see the typed journaling for day 9. I printed that at the same time as the typed journaling for day 11. And it was much easier to just do them both at the same time on my computer and print them together because it's just going to take much less time. And it's going to help me stay on top of this album. This year has been particularly busy for this December. December's always very busy for me. Like I mentioned, it's my busy season at work. There's also all of the holiday stuff to do on top of everyday life, and my life is generally pretty busy. And so doing a process like this just makes this project manageable as something I want to complete during December. And I know that some people, myself, I have done this myself in the past, decide that, they want to go big for this project. They want it to be, a 10 by 8 album with interactive pages, and they just don't have time in December, and they're going to work on it in January or later and finish it. And that's totally acceptable, totally a good way to do this project. But if this is a project where you want to do it and you don't want this like lingering project to finish, I highly recommend instead just simplifying. You don't need interactive pages. You don't need all of these different details. You don't need more than a photo per day. You can just, make it simple. And it's so rewarding still to tell these stories, even though they are just simple photos with a number on some of the days or just a couple words, just the bold work, work, work. It all comes together to create a final project that I absolutely love. Okay, there we go. I have days 9, 10, and 11 in the book. So 9, I did a little bit more. I added some of the little flags to the photo of my hot tea in front of the fire in the tree. And then I pulled this large green felt 9 for my number and just put it on this vellum. You saw me kind of wavering between multiple vellums and transparencies, and I ultimately went with this one because I thought it went really well, but it was one that I didn't love so as like a piece of vellum, so I was never sure if I was even actually going to use it, but I liked it a lot in the spread, so that's why I decided to use it, because it's one of those things that probably would have sat in my stash forever. And then I have my journaling here about our tea, and I embellished that with some supplies from Cocoa Daisy from their, I think it was from October this year of 2025. I believe it was their October collection. It might have been the September. Actually, you know what? I think it was the September collection. Was this like tea and book theme. And so I used some of the washi and stickers from that. You saw me kind of pull out those supplies. I don't think I'm going to do anything on the back of this one, although it does look kind of unfinished. So maybe I'll add like something small on there. Maybe like a star or something, or a couple stars, these starbursts. Just to kind of cover the tape a little bit and just make it look a little bit more finished, and they're actually kind of fun seeing them through the other side. So actually, you know what, let me okay, there we go. Just adding some stickers on there to make that look a little more complete on the back. And then we're gonna flip to 10 and 11. I went super simple. 11, I wanted to just almost leave it with nothing, but I wanted to add my number, and it just looked weird without anything else. So I added these stripes. I'm not sure if I love it. I'm so afraid to touch this page. I don't want to get any smudges on it. But I think I liked it more without the stripes, but I think it still works for what I was trying to accomplish for the story for that day. Now we're going to move into 12. Before I decide what I'm going to do for day 12, though, I'm going to do a little bit of checking in. And this is one of the things that keeps me on track with this project and any kind of projects that I'm working on, is just doing periodic like check-ins on where I am with the project. So I'm going to move over to my calendar, and I talked about this in the previous video, probably even earlier in this video, but I have this calendar, which was a download in the Prep Day classroom, and I use this as a planning calendar. So I did my evening tea, my kitchen shelves, and I worked. So day 12 is kind of the halfway point of this album. So I can see my album is getting a little chunky, so that's okay. I'm going to try to keep some of the spreads close, like smaller and narrower. I'm going to put these back in here. But because we're at the halfway point, there's a few things I want to kind of check in with. So first I want to check in with my stories here. So I told the evening tea story, and I did some work, but I didn't do a work update. So I'm going to leave that one as not checked off. But I'm thinking, okay, so I'm telling Christmas cookie baking on the 13th. These are obviously going to be those days. I want to do my finished puzzle, and I'm thinking I'm going to do that on 14, because I'm probably going to finish it sometime in the next couple of days. And I'm thinking I'm just going to do 2 photo-based pages for those. I was originally planning on doing this video through day 13, but I think I'm going to stop after 12, because I think 12 is going to be its own spread, and then 13 and 14 will face each other. So I'm going to do that. For day 12, I was thinking I wanted to do maybe something about the presents, but we're not there yet. Let's see. So then I have this week left, and I really need my Christmas card, needs to be in here somewhere. That one's already scheduled. and my community crafting needs to be in here somewhere. And that's it. I think all the other ones are more like free stories. They can be whatever. So I think I'm good. Like I'm not running out of space. Sometimes when I do this check-in, I realize like I have like 10 stories left that I really want to tell and I only have 12 days, then I need to start scheduling things, but I have some more flexibility, so that's good. The other thing I want to do a check-in with are my supplies. So when we do December daily, there's so many supplies, and no matter how you organize them, it's very easy to forget what you have and forget that there's something you love that you really wanted to use. So I'm going to kind of go through the supplies I have left and make some notes about what I really want to do. And I have this page, let's see, right here for some notes for my December daily. There was this prep day heart that I wanted to kind of maybe use. I did do this one, but I'm gonna look through and see kind of a little bit more about what supplies I really want to use before I decide what I'm gonna do for 12. I also want to talk about my cover a little bit. So I have the advent calendar, and this big 2025 came the advent calendar, and I think I want to put this on the cover. I was also thinking about like wrapping some thread on here or something and adding a little bit more decor. So I'm not going to do it yet. I think I might need to order a few things to do that the way that I really want to, but that's just kind of what I was thinking about. And then, yeah, so I'm going to go through my supplies and pull a few things out, and I'll put you guys on music while I'm digging around, and then I'll pop back on and explain my thought process. Okay, so I pulled out some supplies that I know I really want to use, and I have some ideas. So I wanted to kind of jot some of those down and talk through them. So first, I'm just gonna like make a little space here by putting the rest of these back. Now these are all gonna have to go back in my box because I can't leave stuff out when I'm not working on this project because my desk is a shared space. Why is this not fitting? My desk is a shared space, so I don't have the ability to just like leave this out all the time, but I'm still gonna go through it and kind of talk through some things. So I pulled out a couple of the 4x4 cards from this year. I really wanna use this one for Christmas Eve. And this one I thought was really cute too. I might just put like a number in the middle, I'm not sure, but I really like both of those. I also really like the idea of cutting this one down. So I'm just gonna put these kind of in the front to remember. These ones were from a previous year. I can't remember what year they were from, but I'm thinking I want to use at least one of them. And I was thinking it'd be good for Christmas Eve. And I know that one is the Christmas Eve too, but maybe like that will be like my transition. But I'm thinking either this one or this one. So Christmas Eve, we always do a spread of hors d'oeuvres, and I always take a photo of it. So I'm thinking I will do a 2-page photo for that. So I'm going to kind of just jot this down. Where's my ruler? So that is going to be for Christmas Eve. So I jotted that down. I can put those back. And then I'm going to go through some of the embellishments. So there's these frames this year. I do kind of want to use a frame at some point. I don't have an idea for it yet. I wanted to use these plastic words. I was just kind of looking at them just to kind of remind myself of what words I have. And then these die cut words from this year I really loved. I also really want to use one of these, at least one of these, for a story because my album is green scallops and these are green scallops. So I just kind of feel like I have to use that at some point. So just something I wanted to keep in mind. I'm just going to put it in this pile. So this is going to be like a pile of things I really want to use. And maybe I'll find a tray for those. I have another one of these and I'm just going to put all of the things that I'm like prioritizing using in this. And then when I'm working on pages or coming up with page ideas, I'll look through here. And those obviously don't fully fit, but that's fine. I pulled out this die cut because I think that this one might be good for like the 23rd or something like that. There's these. I really like the idea of doing like a story on one of those. So I'm going to keep those out. And these die cuts, I'm obsessed with these die cuts this year. That's probably my favorite part of the main kit. So I want those front and center. I probably want to use this for my 25 for the day, for the Christmas day. I was thinking even, let me see how this looks, to do like this on here for like a transition page from the 24th to the 25th. But I don't know yet what I'm doing for that. Then I have these things left. And I think I wanted to do a story about gifts because these were in the main kit and I am obsessed with these presents. And I think what I want to do is kind of create just an embellishment page with those. And I think that I'm going to do my gifts as my story for day 12. So I'm just thinking about how I want this. It's going to be a full page spread. And I found this card. So I'm thinking maybe I could use this one. And I'm thinking I could do like a title or something on here and then use these to tell like little pieces of the story on a larger paper on this side, and then overlay these on a transparency and create just like a fun transparency with these on top of it. So I'm thinking about that and kind of how I want to organize that and what the little micro stories are I'm going to tell about the gifts. I have just a few different ones that I want to tell. And so I'm thinking I'm going to use those to organize those stories. So I'm going to go ahead and put you guys back on voiceover and get this one put together. Okay, so this is going to be a 2-page spread with an insert, which is a little bit much for one day, but I was just feeling like playing with the product. And I like that about this album size, that I can have a lot of fun with the product on some days, and on other days it can be super simple. So the left-hand side, you saw me put that together first, and I'm not thrilled with how it came out. Essentially, the alpha I used was a little too big, so the word checking doesn't really fit. I was hoping that I could squeeze it in there, and honestly, the stamp was just too big. I should have done a test run or found a smaller stamp, because I anticipated this issue and was just hoping that it would work anyway. But I'm going to leave it. I think that it's still kind of cute. I like the messy look of it, and I'm just going to move on, and I end up really loving the way the rest of the spread turns out. So for my insert, what I'm doing is I cropped down a piece of vellum, or not vellum, transparency, and punched holes in it. And then I'm going to add the presents on there to create just kind of like a pattern on top. And I tried to use rolling adhesive first, and I decided that wasn't going to work. I needed to use red line tape, but red line tape is super annoying. So I cropped out a lot of the footage here when I'm working with the red line tape. Essentially, you have to stick it on the back, then you have to peel the red plastic off and then stick your present down. Red line tape, though, is much stronger than rolling adhesive, and because this is outside the page protector, I don't want these to fall off. Yes, you can see it slightly through the presents on the backside. You'll see what that looks like when I ultimately get this in the album. But ultimately, I end up just leaving the back as is. I think that it still looks decent enough from the back that there's not a problem. This transparency that I used has some gold stripes on it, but I flipped it over so the back of the stripes are silver. And so you can see the silver ones on this side with the presents. On the back side, you're going to see the gold stripes. And I did that because I preferred the gold stripes, and I wanted them to show more on the back, because you're going to see the transparency the entire back. Whereas on the front, you can only see the part that pokes out between the presents. Hopefully that makes sense. So I kind of figured out what my pattern was here. Some of the presents are going off the edge, and I'm going to trim them off at the end, but I'm just kind of using them to create just a little like grid shape, and fitting them together was kind of fun, like a puzzle, to put them together and find a way that it looked nice and it filled in all the corners. Obviously, these last little spots, it's just going to be a small piece of the present, and the rest is going to be cut off. But I do end up using all except for the 3 larger presents, which I will put back into my stash and maybe use them later in this album or in another year. Here you can see me cropping everything off the edges. And then the last thing to do on this transparency is I am going to use this to hold my number. So for every day in my album, I'm thinking of ways to incorporate a number. And when I do something like this that is just purely decorative, putting the number on it gives it a little bit of function and makes it not as unnecessary. I mean, the whole album's unnecessary if you think about it. It's just for fun, right? So if I wanted to just have a decorative page, I can totally do that. But putting a number on it just gives it a little bit more meaning, I guess, in my mind. So I'm adhering the front part of day 12 on the back of day 11, and just going to trim it down a little bit, make sure the edges are lined up and smooth. I think I end up actually having to use my scissors a little bit. And yeah, just because when you're trimming with a paper trimmer and it's so close to the edge, sometimes you just need to clean it up a little bit. And then I'm putting that in the album and going to continue on with the right hand side. So I have my present insert done. All I need to do is add the number. I'm going to use the puffy numbers in gold. I'm just going to put them on top of one of the presents, and I really, really love how this insert comes together. So then I need to figure out what I need to do behind it. And so I'm going to pick a pattern paper for my base. And so I'm looking through my stack there, and I end up going with this one, which is from maybe last year. It was from an older release, and it is a beautiful craft paper with presents on it. And they actually look like they coordinate with the ones from this year, which is just perfect. They're slightly different, but I just love the way that these two look together. And because it's craft, it's not so busy to see it through the transparency with the presents on it. So I'm just happy with how that looks together. I punched my holes in it, and now I'm going to go ahead and work on adding my story. So for my story for this one, I'm just going to tell the story of 3 little things related to presents this year. And so I decided to use some of these scalloped ovals, And I was going with the red ones, but I end up using the black ones. And I'm just going to adhere them down and trim the edges off, and then I'll do my journaling. So the 3 stories I decided to tell here are: one, my boyfriend and I decided to exchange gifts. We typically don't do Christmas gifts. He's not really big into Christmas, and we do gifts for other things. But we decided to do a few this year just for fun, just a few little trinkets. And then a second one is my daughter usually gives me a very detailed Christmas list, which usually is one of my stories in my album. But this year she didn't have any huge things she wanted, just a few things. And so a lot of her gifts are either surprises or gift cards. And so I didn't put a list for her this year. So I wanted to tell that story. And then the third one is I decided to not do the stockings this year. We use the fireplace a lot in the winter, so putting the stockings up means that they get really warm. So I don't want to put any gifts in them in advance, and it kind of becomes a pain because I usually am putting chocolate in there, and then I have to pick out small gifts to fit in there. So we just decided to simplify this year and put everything wrapped under the tree, which I'm super excited about. The last thing I wanted to do is add a little bit of decor to the top of these scalloped circle or ovals, because there was like a little header section. So I pulled out these plastic stars, which I think are in the main kit this year, and I'm just adhering 3 of them down, and then I'm going to add on top of those a word phrase strip and a staple from my tiny attacher. Right here, I'm just going through my stash of word phrase strips, and I end up pulling out this one that's like a cream color with gold words. I'm just going to pick 3 sentiments. They're not specific to the stories necessarily, just things that I feel like go. And I'm adding them on there. They are a little wide on the stars. In the past, I have trimmed these down to make them a little narrower so that they don't cover so much of whatever I have them on top of, like if I was putting them on a star like this. But this time I decide I'm just going to leave them. Instead, I'm going to use my tiny attacher just to add a little bit more texture. I don't mind doing this because I haven't adhered anything to the back yet. So the back of the staples will just be hidden behind whatever goes on day 13. I'm just going to trim off the edge of that star and go ahead and put this in the album and wrap this one up. I didn't do a final flip through here to show you everything that I created in this video because at this point I was planning on adding more, but I decided this is where I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I do have still image photos of all of these pages on my Instagram account, so you can go ahead and head over there and see them there. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.